Okay, so we've established mostly that you guys know what SEO is. And as I explained to you, oops, I'm in the wrong course. I posted a bunch of information for you relative to these concepts. So when we talked about it in our first class this week, which is week 11, so all this stuff's going to be in week 11. Okay, we talked about all these different places where you can put keywords. So Nick was just talking about a couple different places. Adam, do you remember any of those places we were talking about on Wednesday? Remember that? On Wednesday? Remember when that happened?
Yeah, just keyword stuff.
Keyword stuff. Good, good. So you guys don't forget, I posted a big pile of tips here for you. Now, obviously, when I go to grade your project, and I started to talk about that a bit today too, which I will, I'm not going to specifically expect that you do everything in these lists. In fact, most of the off-site stuff from this list that we covered in our first class, you can't do it unless you're launching your site. But we did talk about length quite a bit. So I did want to draw your attention to the fact that I've put these things here. And this doesn't have to do with length as much as it has to do with the URL. But these are all things I mentioned on Wednesday, so I'm just showing you those here. And here's where we left off. So search engine optimization, which we understand, is the process. It's a methodology of strategies, as the Wikipedia calls it, where you're doing all these different things to try and improve your organic ranking with the search engines. SMO is not necessarily a byproduct of that, but an extension of that, where you've optimized the main content on your website as like the headquarters of the hub, where your world headquarters for all the stuff you're doing on the web. And it connects you through and back in and out of all these different social media platforms, whichever ones are appropriate for the content that you're trying to push, to market, to advertise, to talk about. And social media optimization then is about awareness. It's about increasing just brand awareness. People knowing what's going on with you. You're in the wake of a negative event surrounding your company. You can use social media to help fix that. Okay, and I talked about tools like social mention that we can actually use to analyze the sentiment of how people are discussing your brand or your keyword phrase or your name. So one that had a lot of trouble last year was Bitcoin, for example. This is 100% free, by the way, what I'm showing you here. This thing is called Social Mention. There are probably like 20 of these different analysis tools. They're analytical tools that will analyze how things are being discussed in social media platforms. I chose to search all. So if you hover over each one of these items, it tells you what they're doing. Okay, so we'll start with strength. So right now, 72% of areas or venues or whatever where this thing might be discussed, that's the likelihood of your brand coming up in social media. If people are talking about digital currencies, the likelihood of Bitcoin to be part of the conversation is 72%. Okay, now this was a lot different last year, right after there was this Mt. Gox scandal, where they determined that they were in fact using a lot of this currency for illegal activity. And it just, I don't know if anybody actually had any Bitcoin. I know I didn't, but it just crashed the value of the currency big time. So if you got in on the ground floor and you paid like $10 for a Bitcoin, you were still fine because it was at $200 even after this happened. But if you caught on to this trend at some other point, you bought into Bitcoin at like $500 and you were all pumped because it gone up to 900, it dropped by like hundreds of dollars, like overnight because of what happened here. So the sentiment was flipped the other way around. This was a little higher too, even though it was negative. This was in like the 50s last year when this happened. Okay, that the people were really passion. I don't know how the heck these algorithms work for a tool like this where it can actually measure passion. It's probably based on the type of words they use and adjectives, like adjectives and how much they stress how angry or happy they are about what's going on. And then I don't know why my recording tool does that. Then reaches the measure of the range of influence. So the number of unique authors that are referencing your brand. So there are a lot of tools like this, and I just wanted to show you guys that even though you can't technically go in and optimize your content in every digital platform in the sense that you can change the metadata and change the words that are behind the content you create, you definitely can't do that in Facebook, for example. You can still go in and just talk about it, and there are going to be analytical tools like this that can help you understand how the conversation is going. So that's social media optimization. That's kind of where we left off after we were discussing SEO. And that video is an example of what you can do with social media. And these guys sort of broke the mold. Like and you see this a lot with political movements. They just sort of skipped the whole website thing. They didn't have a website. Okay, so do you guys have any comments about that example? Do you think that was wrong what they did? I mean, it worked. And I'm talking about the video we just watched, in case somebody's watching what I'm recording. Watch this video. Okay? So these people in Troy did this thing where they convinced everyone they were going to burn all the books. It's pretty funny, actually. And they were hiring a band for the party, and they put up flyers for babysitters. What are your opinions on this? What? I'm hungry. You guys don't have any thoughts about this? I mean, you can tell by a couple things I've said in this class that I'm fairly right-wing. Not when it comes to social policies. Like, I don't like the way that hardcore conservatives are against gay marriage, for example. I think that's ridiculous. But in terms of money, I love the way conservatives are trying to get the government not to take all my money. I'm a right-winger. So even though it was a minuscule tax, it's a slippery slope. I probably would have not voted to save the library. I know it sounds bad, but at the same time, you think any of those people have ever gone back to the library? They probably went in there like the week after that happened and was like, oh, it's so good, now we saved the library, and now nobody's using it again. That's the problem. Because most of the time when these things are happening, they're happening for a reason. It was happening because everything is online. Nobody's using the library anymore. Everyone has inexpensive access to the web. So they wanted the library safe, but for what purpose, right? I mean, that was kind of what I thought about. I thought it was really cool what they did. That's why I used the example. But you were going to say something. What did you? No.
It's a good tactic. It worked.
Totally, yeah. You don't see anything wrong with the fact they were kind of lying to people? Nobody got mad at them.
Yeah, because it was for a good cause.
Yeah, right. It was for the better good of the community, right? It's an easy way to get out of sneaky little stuff like that in social media. Any other thoughts? Nick?
I think what's important is they made the public aware of what their agenda was well before like the actual voting process. So they let the thing ride out.
Yeah.
But they didn't,
Yeah, which makes it.
Voted and then said, oh yeah, by the way, we were for the library the whole time. I mean, there was that element of truth.
Right. It makes it less deceitful, right? So let's take a look. Now here is where I think some of this, a YouTube video you can actually optimize, even though this is a social media platform. You don't have control of the page itself. You can't decide how it works and how it runs. But when you launch a YouTube video, you can optimize it. I'll show you that in a second. But here's another part of a social media platform that people they don't understand the value of this. Whether it's negative or positive, they're talking about this here. And whoever came up with this could have started a consulting firm based on this little gimmick they did. So 175 thumbs down from the teabaggers. That's pretty funny. You can see it's got a lot of positive ratings, and they're just assuming these are Tea Party people. This is how you have to do it. The Tea Party is full of nihilistic mouth breathers. Mouth breathers. I don't get that. Of course, in a truly good society, such mouth breathers would not have to be dealt with. Simply beautiful. Way to go. F those Tea Party racist, selfish, nihilistic assholes. So you get a lot of fun stuff like this, right? Where it's just over the top commenting. But what you really start to see is a conversation. And if the conversation like this in a video that went somewhat viral, I mean, that's pretty good. Excuse me, 600,000 views. If you can turn that conversation into something about your brand or your product or your service, like, you see where I'm going, right? You guys get the point? This is a good thing, okay? Even though people are pissed off at the Tea Party. Yes, the Tea Party didn't do it. The Tea Party were the ones that wanted to close the library. According to them, it's all the Tea Party's fault.
Is there another way to measure, like, the sentiment? Like, the sign, thumbs up, thumbs down?
Yeah, I mean, tools like Social Mention will actually look at pages like this. If you were to search, like, Troy Library something, there might not be enough results to do it. But yeah, there are other tools that are specific to YouTube, and I haven't used any of them yet, but there are tools that'll analyze just the comments. But you have to buy them. That's why I haven't used them yet, because you got to pay for that stuff. But it will go through, like, comments on videos on your blog. It will analyze comments specific to pages, but that stuff isn't free, right? The other thing you can do, though, with YouTube to make sure that people understand where you come from and where the platform is kind of founded or based upon. Here, do I have any videos in this account? I don't know if I have any videos posted. I don't even know what account I'm in right now. Okay, I got no videos in here. That's not going to work. Let me just log out. Okay, so take a look. God, there's that stuff I was talking about. Look what happens. Like, I don't even do this on my laptop, but because my Google phone connects, like, it knows what I'm watching on my phone. Even when I log into my Fanshawe YouTube account on this computer, it still shows me all those stupid unwrapping toy videos and stuff that my daughter watches. It's pretty funny. So here's my playlist for my online Excel course. Go to the playlist, thank you. And if I pull up one of these videos, for example, and I go to the edit section, you're going to see that even though I don't have control of the page, I can still, this is still going to be my title, okay, which can be optimized. I have the opportunity to make a brief description, and I can include tags, okay, which in this sense are just keyword phrases. So that would be like your meta keywords. So you can put that stuff in there, and you can still do some SEO in some social media applications like YouTube. There's still a bit of opportunity there. So then the last step, which we didn't really get to on the first day, was social publishing. And this is a term that's starting to pop up quite a bit now. Webipedia doesn't actually have a definition for it yet, but the textbook that I'm using in my marketing course, which is more of a social media marketing course at the University of Waterloo, it's defined it as sort of the continue process of, they sort of define it like SEO, but I mean, it isn't. SEO is the process of getting your site to rank as best as you possibly can organically with the search engines. Then there's social media optimization, which is about continuing to tell the story, continuing the narrative. You're just spreading awareness. You're taking all that info on your website and you're just putting it all over the place, wherever it's appropriate. Then there's social publishing. So social publishing is like the process of, once you get your SEO and your SMO kind of locked up, once you get this all set up, social publishing is just what happens as you continue to go in and continue to update and update, and you're constant. It's the ongoing thing that happens afterwards. So what I've taught you guys to do in this course, which is to crank out a nice simple WordPress site, it never ends. This is what I need you to understand. It's not just a website. It's a marketing tool that is organic and needs to constantly be updated and changed. You can't just leave it there. I mean, you can in some industries. I've shown you my buddy's tree site. Like, his is just there with his phone number and it works great. But you can't usually get away with that. So social publishing is about continuing to tell the story. And that's what this definition does. And I don't need to read that to you guys. And this is why when it comes time to mark your project, and I haven't posted it yet. It'll be posted with your schedules. I'm going to post, just like I did for the web workshop, I'm going to post a rubric for the exact point breakdown, like the point-by-point breakdown of where you're going to get everything for the project. So I'm going to show you a couple plugins today that aren't specifically listed in your project description. But when I post your schedule for grading, they will be listed in there. And so that way you'll know, like, I have to have the Google Analytics plugin installed, for example, and it's worth 5 points. And that's actually going to be true. But if you don't have a Google account, it's going to be okay. And I'll cover this with you now. So now we're taking it back to the WordPress site. So I've shown you what these things are. Now we're going to go back to the WordPress site and talk about how you can get these things running and working on your site. Okay, so you guys, for your final project, if you have it set up, which you should, because you're getting your milestone today if you didn't already get it, you might as well put these plugins in with me while I'm doing it, because I'm asking you to, and I'm telling you that there's going to be marks associated with these plugins. Okay, so here's my final project. I'm going to log in. And I'm going to go and uninstall the damn plugin that I already installed.
I see like object not found. This is it. In all pages when I do it.
Okay, maybe you should go back to default. I'll have to take a look at that afterwards.
I showed this problem to your friend and he told me, no, I don't know. What's wrong?
Well, he's a professional with WordPress and he's telling you he doesn't know. Great. Yes?
I don't have the slug option under screen options.
Really?
My
Me neither.
theme
Okay, if you're in a theme that automatically puts the name of the, what does it do when you go, okay, let's go back and do this one more time. Let's try with pages. So in pages, if you were to go and make a new page, you're saying that down here you don't see the option for a slug. And even if you go to screen options, it's not there for you to turn on or off. Interesting.
now it is. It's not when you go into an actual pre-existing page.
Oh, that might have been, maybe your theme is trying to prevent you. Okay, this is good. I'm glad this happened. So if you've already made a bunch of pages, even if you go to edit, really? I'd hate to think you have to remake all these pages now. I mean, this is one of those little things I'm going to be looking for when I grade your project. Like, it'll be in that list I'm going to post. So if you don't see it, it's because it's not turned on in the screen options. But if it's not even there in the screen options to turn on, it might be because you created those pages before you switched to this theme, and it wants you to recreate them in the new theme. I don't know. It's a little weird, but you should have that available in pages and posts. And then you can give it the slug, like this is stand-up paddleboard. So let's do that same one we did with the post. So 2014 SUP reviews. SUP is short for stand-up paddleboard, for those of you that don't know that. So and I would put that in here. And it'll automatically give you a slug like that if you're using the right SEO plugin usually. Actually, no, I think you still give it the slug. But if I were to publish this then, and then I want to go to my settings and make sure in my settings under permalinks that I had it set to, not to default, because right now it's still set to default. So if I were to go to the page and look at it, you're saying it was after you changed the settings to show post name that it crashed it?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you change it back to default and you click on this, and you click on, well, view. I want to view that. It works. You're saying this works, but it doesn't have the slug there, right? It's got like, okay. So then you go here, back to the dashboard. You change your settings. You change them to permalinks. Change permalinks to permalinks. You change to post name. And you save. Does this crash the site when you save? Or it crashes the site when you go and try and view the page?
Same problem.
That crashed the site. Okay, I'll take a look at that after. You might want to try custom structure instead of post name. I'll show you, hang on. So this is optimized, and that's what I want to see. Okay? If your site is failing to do this without crashing, that typically is the result of the theme not liking what you're doing, because it doesn't want the permalink setting post name. So in that case, go to custom structure and type in what I have here, which will put in the post name. So do / and then put a %, and then type post name, all small letters, one word, and then put another %, / and then try and save and tell me if it crashes your site. Okay, because when I do that and I go to pages and then view the page again, it should still show me the slug exactly the same. Okay, the simpler way to do it is just to choose post name, but if WordPress isn't letting you do that, okay, so I'll go back and show you guys again what I'm looking for. So settings, permalinks, and then instead of post name, you do custom structure and put that in there. Do you have that in there? Percent, post name, percent. In between two slashes. Forward slashes. Percent, forward slash, percent sign, post name, percent sign, forward slash. And then save changes. Did it crash your site? See, now mine defaults right back to post name because that's actually just post name, but it crashed your site? Okay, we'll have to take a look at that after. That was my only solution, but it didn't work. So now, hopefully this doesn't crash your site. A much better way to make sure these keywords are all over the place is to install a good SEO plugin. The one I want you to use, go to plugins, go to add new, is the one that Martin showed you last week. Type in the word Yoast, like toast, but with a Y, and install it, okay, if you haven't already done it. Okay, activate. As soon as I do that, you're going to see a bunch of stuff happen. This is why I wanted to do it in front of you. I have an entire new menu up here. They have a research panel where you can look into the viability of your keywords. It connects to the things that Google does. Google actually has a keyword planner that you can use if you have a Google account. I have it linked in here in FOL. So there's lots of stuff that I'm not going to really be able to get into today, but you have a lot of options there in terms of what you can do. Where the hell am I going? There. So what I do want to do is go back to that same post that I was playing around with and show you what you have available now. So if I go to edit this post now, I have all this stuff here that I can input. And you can see, even after I took the plugin out and put it back in again, all the stuff I had in there before was still there because it's technically added into the code through the metadata. So this is what I did this morning in my other section. And this is really cool. So see how I have this in there? It'll tell you, it'll say you have an article heading. Yes, you have an article heading. And then it'll look through the rest of that and look to see that you've repeated. Now this is not repeating content you're going to be negatively ranked for. You want to make sure you mention that main keyword phrase in the rest of your metadata. And the reason I like this plugin so much is because I'm not mentioning it in my description right now, and it's telling me that with a little red no. It's saying, hey, you haven't even said the name of the post yet in your description. Like, what the heck? You should have that in there. So once I put it in there, this checks off and becomes yes. And at that point, you don't keep repeating it within the meta description. You just stop. You might also notice, see here how it says it has 34 characters left? That's another reason I like this plugin. It knows that the max length for a meta description, according to Google right now, and Google and Yahoo and Bing might have this set to be slightly different, but I mean, Google is the #1 search engine, so most of these plugins will be based on Google. It allows 156 characters. You have 34 left. Okay. I also provide you in FOL this week with other description links or whatever. So it tells you right here, like the old school length, which is here, which some of these other search engines are still using. It's now even shorter. So this doesn't mean you're going to be negatively ranked if it's longer than that. It just means it's not going to read it. But if it was way longer than that and repeating things over and over again, even though it's only counting the first 55 characters, the algorithms that Google have will still be good enough to know, yeah, I don't care about anything but the 55 characters, but I do care if you're trying to load up a bunch of keyword phrases in there that aren't relevant to the content. And you will be negatively ranked. So if you don't want to be negatively ranked, or you just want to keep it within the limit period, stick to 55 characters. And when I saw this, when I first started noticing that this was a bit of an issue, I mean, I had like half a paragraph in my page title because I just wanted to jam keywords everywhere I could. But the search engines are smarter than that now. They have been for a long time. So go by these lengths. So if you have, for example, then for your title, it doesn't tell you. Now, if you click on this, it'll say the SEO title defaults to what the generated one is for the post type, which is fine. It won't say if it's long enough here, even though it does for this one. So if you're worried about that, you can always just go and open up your word processing program, which should be probably OpenOffice or Microsoft Word. And if you type in the title there, or part of it, or however long you're going to want it, okay, if you highlight that text, and I got an extra space in there, but whatever. If you go to review and word count, which I'm sure a lot of you have done this to see if you have enough words for an essay for another one of your classes, it also provides character count. So clearly with this one, I have no issues here. And I could use some more characters. I might as well because I have the space. So there is something to be said for the length. And I'm fairly certain if I just kept typing, like 2014 SOP reviews, courtesy of Boardhead, Surf Shop, Grand Bend, Ontario. Oh, look at that. Hey, whoa, easy. Your title is too long. This is why I love this plugin. Because what happens with a WordPress site is it automatically adds the site title to whatever title is going to be put in on the specific piece of content that you're creating, be it a page or a post. So instead of just giving you the specific number there, which might confuse people, that's probably why they haven't done it. Because if they said there, you're over 55 characters, but you kept taking it out of there and putting it in Word and seeing that it wasn't 55 characters, you might wonder why the heck it keeps telling you it's too long. It's because automatically it adds the name of the site in there. So this says it's too long, so I'm just going to go like that. Actually, no. I want Boardhead in there. So if it's too long, do this, Boardhead, Surf Shop, Grand Bend. Okay, now how many characters is that? So if I go like this and put that into Word, that in itself is, okay, 40 characters. Well, I was just over that, and it told me I was already over. Here's why. So I'm going to update this, publish it, and then I'm going to view it. Can I view from the update page? I thought I could. I'll just go back to post. Yeah, there, right there, view post. Yeah. Yeah, or view changes. So here is the post. Okay, if I sit over here, look what it's done in there. Okay, it's got final project added in there. So, and where's the rest of my stuff? Did I not hit save on that? I thought I did, but what I'm showing you is that it's automatically adding the site title into whatever the title is that you're putting it in for that post. So if you go too long, but it doesn't look like it's too long, it's because the site title is going to be in there too, and it knows that. It's intelligent, it's smart, it's a plugin that is going to help you do things the right way. So you have the same options on pages, and then in here, let's just go in here quickly and see what's going on. So if I go to AdWords External, it takes me to the planner, which I've already linked to FOL for you, okay? Which I love that it does that because that's an awesome tool. But you have to have a Google account to go into it. And Google Insights is another fairly extensive free tool, of course, that talks about what's trending and what's hot and what's not, and it does all sorts of crap. So if you were to go and ask Google, what is Google Insights? It's sort of like that sentiment analysis tool that I showed you earlier. Oh, it's an awesome tool for tracking and comparing trends. Most of us use it on a regular basis. I love it when Google defines their own stuff. It's an awesome tool. Most of us are using it on a regular basis. However, the common misconception of the tool is that it's a regular keyword research and traffic estimation tool. It is a lot more than that because it actually can track trends, which I can't imagine how complicated the math is for a search engine to be able to do that, but that's what these sentiment analysis tools are doing. So that's Google's version of that, which is pretty cool. So you can search for water sports or surfing or something like that and see what kind of stuff is trending, and then you can create keyword phrases that tie into those trends. This is what takes a long time. This is what people put hours and hours of work into in a week when they really want a site to be successful. This could be an entire second course that you should be taking after my course. Because to put designing a website and then SEO in the same course, it needs to be like a 6 or an 8 hour course. I mean, it's not enough. It really isn't. Every time I give you guys lab time, I'm late leaving my class because there isn't enough time. So what I really need are like, I need assistants. I need like 5 Martins and a few more of me's in here every week so that we can get everybody to the point where they're focusing on this and not their website. I mean, look at this piece of crap website I'm making. Like you got to get your website made and then you got to optimize. And optimizing is going to take more time. And then you have the menu here where you have your own dashboard for the Yoast SEO. So if you go to the dashboard, you can set things across the site to be a certain way. On top of that, remember yesterday how I talked about Wednesday, whenever it was in your class, I talked about XML sitemaps. This plugin will submit that. It'll create the sitemap and submit it for you as soon as your site goes live. As soon as your site is on a server, it does it automatically. People are like, oh my God, how am I supposed to remember to do all this stuff? And I got to have webmaster tools, and then I got to submit. That's why these plugins are so awesome. That's why WordPress is so much better than having an HTML site. Because with a WordPress site, you don't have to always remember to do every single little thing. You can get 2 or 3 really solid plugins, and it'll do this stuff for you. This is a big, big deal. With an HTML site, you have to go and find an XML sitemap generator somewhere that was free probably because you don't want to pay for one, and then you'd get the sitemap generated, then you have to figure out what to do with that file, and then every time the site changes, you're going to want to make sure that the generated sitemap is changing with it. No, not anymore. Not with Yoast, the Yoast WordPress SEO. You can choose things to include and exclude, and you're never going to have that, but you have that many, but you can set the different entries per page. You can actually change the permalinks in here, which Ilya might be a way for you to do this. And you can change the canonical settings in here, which I talked about yesterday. So the canonical is the different, like, there is a difference between www.boardheadsurfshop.com and just boardheadsurfshop.com without the triple W. Technically, to search engines, these are 2 different places. So you want to set your permanent redirect to be at whatever, okay? And this isn't really where you set this. You would have to set this with your server or your hosting company. It's a little tricky. I've posted an article on it that I think makes it a little easier to understand, but if any of you are going as far as to launch your site and you want to make sure that your marketing is super tight, like your optimization, just call up whatever your hosting company is and tell them, I need to set my canonical. Can you do that for me? And GoDaddy will do it in about 2 seconds. If you're working with a hosting company that doesn't know what you're talking about, can them and switch to GoDaddy. And as I've said many times, I am not sponsored by GoDaddy, although I probably should be given how much I talk about them in my class. They're marginally more expensive than the other companies, but it's worth it, guys. It really is. Okay, so the other plugin I want you to have, and the other plugin that you're going to be allocated points for on your final project, even though you can't really use it unless you have a Google account, is the Google Analytics plugin. So go to Add Plugins. Why upload plugin? I don't want to upload a plugin. Go to I forget that it does that. Go to Plugins in your dashboard, the main Plugins menu, and then click Add New. And then search Google Analytics. Actually, it does the same exact thing. I just wasn't using the search box. Okay? This will actually put the dashboard, the GA dashboard, right into your WordPress site, which you guys don't really need. You can just go to GA. If you don't have to have the plugin, don't put it in because it's going to waste up. It's going to take up space, and it's going to slow down your site. You don't want too many plugins. This one is what I'm talking about. So this will automatically put the code in based on the account settings that you put in there. So you click Install Now, you click OK. You're not going to see this popping up on every page after you activate it. You'd have to go into Settings and just set it up to be connected to your account, and then it's done. And it'll be on every piece of content you make. Like Google Analytics only operates based on your pasting the tracking code into the head of an HTML page. Is Megan even talking about that? That course with Megan is more about using the platform, right? I'm teaching you guys how to connect it. So if you were to make a one-off HTML site, you would go and get the code and paste it into the head from your analytics platform. Has she shown you where to get the code? Yeah? Okay, good. Because I usually do all this stuff in my class, but I was told last year that I was just repeating things that she's already doing. All right, so this will get that code for you and put it into every piece. Like, what in the hell, guys? How is it that I wasn't using WordPress until this year? I mean, my other students should be coming back here and smacking me with pop bottles because they're still out there trying to build HTML sites. And I've been using WordPress myself for a few years, but it's a bit of a task to change your whole course over. And now we've done it, and you guys are getting the benefits. You're reaping the benefits. So go to settings after you install this plugin. I think I babbled on long enough there for you to get the plugin installed. As soon as it's installed, it should be sitting here in settings. You go in there, and from there, you would put in your property ID from your analytics account, and just from that, it will put the code in every single page. Holy crap, that was the easiest thing ever. So I don't care if you have a Google account or not associated with your final project, because most of you will not unless you're launching the site. But you will lose 5 points if you don't simply do what I did today, which is go to the plugins and pick the Google Analytics plugin and activate it. That's all you have to do. You don't even have to remember to go in here to settings. You'll get 5 points just for having that plugin there. And that's the kind of quite specific information that I don't give you in the actual project plan details. And I did the same thing with my students when I had them make HTML sites. I give them the project plan. I don't overwhelm them with little details until I've taught most of it. So when you get that list from me, when I post the schedule of your grading, remember in week 14, you don't have class in my course. You have other teachers' classes, just not mine. You'll have to show up in the office for 10 minutes. And I'll set this appointment at a time that I know you don't have class. If it doesn't work, you just need to let me know right away. I'll be sending these to you early next week. When I do that, I'll also say, hey, by the way, here's the point-by-point breakdown for your final project. It's a couple weeks away from being due. It's due 2 weeks from Sunday. Here's the point-by-point breakdown. Don't let me down. If I'm handing you easy points, put it in there. So the SEO Yoast thing, that in itself is going to be over 10 points. Okay, because I'm going to be looking that every page and post has used that plugin and they are all fully optimized. That is what's going to take you a bunch of time. Okay, even though I can just click on them all and see it very quickly. So, and that's what next week's milestone is about, by the way. When you guys come back next week, I want to see that you have pages and posts. I don't care if you have 1 of each or 10 of each, just some of each. And that these samples I pull up, each of them are optimized using this plugin. Or the all-in-one plugin. Either one is generally acceptable. It's just the all-in-one plugin doesn't do that thing where it tells you that you haven't included the main keywords from the title in the other meta areas, which I think is so cool. You guys with me? Okay, so I'm going to do the milestone grades for this section now. That's the main stuff I wanted to show you in WordPress today. We did manage to get that done in less than an hour, even with the video and our discussion on SMO. So once you're checked off, you guys can go. You do not have to stick around today. I'm going to stop.